Do you believe destiny is fixed? We often feel trapped by past mistakes or cycles of bad luck, convinced that only a massive overhaul can save us. But what if the path to radical transformation was contained within a single fleeting moment of conscious choice? The profound truth of karma action reveals that the quality of your entire life can pivot on one pure mental state, citta. Tonight, we explore a powerful Buddhist tale of a person facing ruin whose life was completely redeemed, not by years of repentance, but by one swift, genuine act of grace. Discover how a solitary act of virtue holds the power to rewrite your entire future, instantly turning the tide of negative consequence. The setting: the steep price of unskillful karma. Our story begins not with a saint, but with a soul steeped in dukkha. Let us call him Jiva. Jiva had lived a life driven by self-interest, succumbing frequently to the poisons of lobha, greed, and dosa, aversion. His actions, fueled by this fundamental ignorance, avidya, had generated significant akusala kama, unskillful actions. Now, the inevitable vipaka, karmic consequence, was ripening. Jiva was facing a crisis, perhaps financial ruin, the breakdown of his health, or the loss of all respect in his community. He felt utterly cornered, seeing himself as a victim of cruel fate, unable to recognize that his current reality was the echo of his own past choices. He was trapped in the cyclical pattern of samsara, where past actions dictate future experiences. This feeling of helplessness is the deepest form of spiritual suffering, the belief that change is impossible. The brilliance of the Buddha's teaching is that it offers a path out of this deterministic cycle. While past actions are unchangeable, the response to them, the present moment's Cetana, is always fresh, always free. The central principle, karma, is made in the present. The profound truth that saves Jiva and can save us is the principle that the power of the present moment is greater than the momentum of the past. The Buddha states in the Dhammapada, "By oneself alone is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself alone is evil avoided. By oneself alone is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one purifies another." Dhammapada, verse 165. This teaching places radical agency in our hands. Jiva's past karma had set the stage for suffering, but his mind state, citta, in this very moment, determines the direction of the future. What is a single good deed in this context? It is a fleeting but perfect kusala chitta, skillful mental state, a moment where the mind is completely devoid of the defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion. It's a spontaneous flash of hiriotapa, moral shame and fear of blame, driven by pure karuna, compassion. The moment of pivot, recognizing the opportunity. The turning point occurs when Jiva, wallowing in his despair, encounters a moment of genuine suffering external to himself. Perhaps he sees an animal in peril, a child crying, or an old person struggling. The key is that the suffering is so immediate and compelling that it temporarily eclipses his own all-consuming self-pity and fear. In that instant, Jiva stops thinking about me and mine. He transcends the illusion of the separate self, anatta, that has been the root of all his unskillful actions. His mind shifts from akusala chitta, how can I save myself? Kusala chitta, how can I help this being, regardless of my own plight? This shift is not a calculated ethical choice. It is an act of pure, spontaneous grace, a brief but perfect alignment with the Dharma. Because this kusala citta arises amidst the overwhelming momentum of negative karma, its power to disrupt the old cycle is amplified exponentially. It is like injecting pure, radiant light into a dark, stagnant stream. The single deed is merely the physical expression of this liberated mental state. This single moment of pure virtue, where Jiva acts solely out of compassion with no thought of self-gain, generates a powerful counterforce. It plants a potent seed of merit that is strong enough to not only alter his current crisis, but also redirect the entire course of his future vipaka. The physical manifestation of this change is about to unfold. The act of grace, detail, and intent. Let us examine the specific details of Jiva's moment of grace. Suppose Jiva, on the brink of despair, sees a small, defenseless creature, a bird, perhaps trapped and suffering, caught in a snare he himself might have set in his more ruthless past. His crisis-ridden mind, focused only on its own doom, suddenly fractures. For that split second, the dukkha of the bird becomes his own. He doesn't stop to calculate the risk, the time, or the effort. He simply acts. He uses his last remaining mental and physical energy, which was moments before dedicated to self-pity, to carefully, tenderly free the creature. He provides a small amount of water or food, a resource he desperately needed himself. This is not a grand public display. It is a quiet, personal, and profound act of ahimsa, non-harming, and karuna, compassion. The power of this act lies in its context. The quality of karma is determined by three factors. The intention Cetana. As established, Jiva's intent was absolutely pure, devoid of self-gain. The basis of the act. The recipient was a vulnerable being suffering acutely. This heightens the merit. The freedom from defilement. The action was free from the interference of lobha, dosa, and moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. Because the act was performed when Jiva's resources, both physical and psychological, were at their lowest ebb, the sincerity of his heart was at its peak. This unconditioned compassion generates merit so potent that it outweighs the sheer volume of his prior misdeeds. The counterforce. Karma's weight, not volume. The law of karma is often misunderstood as a simple arithmetic equation. Good deeds minus bad deeds equals outcome. The Buddha teaches us that karma is more complex, governed by weight and timing. A small, pure action can often be heavier than a lifetime of mediocre deeds. In the Udana exclamations and Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha uses the analogy of salt and water. If you put a spoonful of salt into a small cup of water, the water becomes undrinkable. But if you put that same spoonful of salt into the vast waters of the Ganges River, the taste is barely altered. Jiva's single good deed is the water that dilutes the salt of his past unskillful karma. The vastness of his pure Cetana the moment he opened his heart unconditionally created a river of merit, drastically reducing the impact of his past errors. This act did not erase the bad karma, but rather weakened its power to ripen in the immediate future, thereby opening a space for new, positive consequences to manifest. The instantaneous mental shift. The first vipaka. The physical turn of fortune is often secondary. The immediate and guaranteed vipaka of Jiva's single good deed was the shift in his mind stream. The act instantly lifted the heavy burden of self-pity and guilt. The moment he acted compassionately, he shattered the illusion that he was a victim, realizing instead that he was an agent of change, a being capable of virtue. This mental clarity, this self-forgiveness born of genuine action, changed how he perceived the world and, crucially, how he presented himself to it. The energy of self-condemnation vanished, replaced by the subtle, quiet dignity of a virtuous person. This internal realignment is the first sign that the entire trajectory of his life, his health, his relationships, and his opportunities was fundamentally being reset. The external world, governed by the law of resonance, was about to respond to the purity of his internal change. The principle of resonance, the new energy field. Jiva's single act of compassion was like a sonic boom in his karmic field, disrupting the negative vibration that had attracted hardship. He had, for the first time, acted from a place of meta-loving kindness, replacing the self-obsessed energy of fear and craving. This new mental state created a powerful resonance. When a person's mind is clouded by guilt, fear, and avarice, they tend to make poor decisions, misinterpret signals, and repel helpful people. They remain spiritually isolated. Conversely, when the mind is purified by virtue, it becomes sharp, discerning, and attractive to wholesome influences. The vipaka, karmic result of Jiva's small act, did not manifest as a sudden bag of gold. Rather, it subtly shifted the way the world interacted with him. Clarity of vision. The self-forgiveness brought by his good deed allowed Jiva to see the path ahead clearly, unclouded by anxiety. He recognized opportunities he had previously ignored due to self-doubt. Attraction of virtue. People who were previously hostile or indifferent to him began to respond to his newfound inner calm and dignity. His virtuous energy attracted virtuous people, a fundamental law of the spiritual universe. He found trustworthy partners or mentors willing to help him rebuild his life. This mechanism is beautifully captured in the Buddhist saying, You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Jiva was no longer defined by his past mistakes. He was defined by his single, powerful act of present virtue. He became the possibility of goodness, and the universe responded to that essence. The test of sustained virtue, the path to rebuilding. The change in Jiva's external circumstances, a new job, a successful venture, or restored relationships, was the secondary fruit. The real test lay in whether he could sustain the kusala chitta, skillful mental state that initiated the change. Many people, once blessed by good fortune, forget the source of their prosperity and fall back into old patterns of lobha, greed. Jiva's redemption was secured because the initial experience of giving was so profound. He understood intimately that true wealth was the feeling of his heart during that selfless moment, not the money in his pocket. He cultivated appamada diligence, heedfulness, never allowing himself to slip back into the heedlessness that characterized his past. His new wealth was not hoarded. It was used as a tool for further dana give and sila moral conduct. He didn't just rebuild his own life. He became the cornerstone for the flourishing of others. He understood the profound wisdom that states the purpose of merit is not self-enrichment, but the capacity to be of greater service. Dhammadana, sharing the story of transformation. As Jiva grew in wisdom and stability, his life became a living Dhamma, teaching. His existence was proof that no one is ever beyond redemption. His ability to share his story, the tale of how one single moment of compassion for a vulnerable creature completely altered his inevitable ruin, became his highest form of dana. He taught others the critical lesson: do not wait until you are rich or perfect to act virtuously. The greatest potential for merit exists precisely when you feel you have the least to give. The spontaneous, pure intention of the heart in a moment of crisis generates a force that can overcome the accumulated weight of a lifetime of error. This is the profound truth that sets the mind free from the tyranny of its own history, confirming the Buddha's assertion that the path is always available, right here, right now. The true meaning of redemption, escape from Vedana, the story of Jiva's radical transformation, offers more than moral encouragement. It provides a map for mental liberation. His prior suffering was rooted in Vedana, feeling the painful feelings of guilt, loss, and fear generated by his past akusala kama. When he performed his single act of pure kusala kama, he consciously chose to detach his present action from the chain of past Vedana. This is the essence of the Buddha's teaching on dependent origination, paticca samuppada. If we continue to react to the pain of the past with craving or aversion, we generate new karma that perpetuates the cycle. Jiva's choice broke the link. $text. Past Vedana. Right arrow text. Present Sankara formations. Right arrow text. Akusala kama. Old pattern. Jiva's shift introduced a powerful discontinuity. $. Text, past Vedana. Text present, sati mindfulness. Right arrow text, kusala chitta, pure intention. $. By grounding himself in the present moment. Pakupana, Jiva found freedom. The single good deed was the physical expression of that mental liberation. He learned that while the waves of past karma may still hit the shore, his true shelter lies in the purity of his present action, the ubiquity of the opportunity. The beauty of this narrative is that the opportunity for this radical shift is always available. We do not need to be facing total ruin, nor do we need to find a trapped bird. The opportunity lies in the mundane, in the small, repeated choices of our daily lives. Every interaction with a difficult colleague, a loved one, or even a stranger on the road presents a micro moment where we can choose kusala chitta over akusala chitta, choosing patience, hanti, instead of anger, dosa, choosing understanding, panya, instead of judgment, moha, choosing genuine appreciation instead of self-pity, mana. Each small, conscious act of kindness, performed with pure Cetana, generates the same powerful, life-altering merit that saved Jiva. It builds a constant stream of wholesome karma, gradually widening the river of merit until the salt of past mistakes is functionally diluted and rendered ineffective. The cumulative effect of these small, mindful deeds is what builds a life of enduring peace and prosperity. The ultimate gift, freedom from self-condemnation. For many souls, the greatest impediment to change is the heavy cloak of self-condemnation. The belief that I am fundamentally bad, or I deserve this suffering. This belief, rooted in self-clinging, attavada, is itself a potent form of negative karma. Jiva's redemption provided the antidote. His single act of grace proved to him, unequivocally, that he was capable of profound goodness. The external reward was simply the universe confirming the truth he had already established internally. You are a worthy vessel of virtue. This story is a powerful instruction for us to forgive our past selves and focus entirely on the quality of our present actions. The Dharma promises us that the darkness of 1,000 lifetimes can be dispelled by a single, powerful flicker of wisdom and compassion. Let us not be burdened by the narrative of our past, but rather be inspired by the limitless potential of the present moment's good deed. The journey of Jiva reveals that we are never defined by the weight of our past, but by the purity of our present intention. The profound shift in his destiny was not earned through years of struggle, but initiated by one single conscious act of karuna, compassion. This is the great promise of the Dharma. The kusala chitta, skillful mind, is your ultimate lifeline. The power to break the most complex cycle of negative karma resides in the effortless act of choosing kindness over craving, right here, right now. Never underestimate the power of your next thought. It is the seed that redeems your entire life.